Hi, my name is Alex Radcliffe.
And I am Ricky. Today we're reviewing CoraQuest.
Now, CoraQuest is going to be a dungeon crawler game created by Dan and Cora Hughes. This is a game that they decided to create while in lockdown together and stuck at home because most of us, as I can imagine, when we're stuck at home, we automatically just decide to create board games. And the reason they created the game
is because they are very sad that there's no dungeon crawler games for kids. While some dungeon crawler games like Zombicide, older kids can play them, but they're still more of an adult game.
Yeah, they're still a little bit on the harder side to understand. And so they created this very much with the mindset of children in mind, of a family game with a dungeon crawler vibe. And I can tell you that, having played this with my 9-year-old, my 7-year-old, and my 5-year-old, even my 5-year-old is fully involved and understands all the rules or whatnot. I saw someone else from one of the other, someone else who had a prototype, I saw them mention even their 4-year-old was involved in the game. So that should give you an idea of the accessibility of the game. Yeah, 4-year-old, exactly. And so do you want to go do a brief overview of how the game plays, or should I?
I think you should start.
Okay, so basically what you're going to do in this game is you're going to have, and I have this set up as if we're in the middle of a game over here, but you're going to have your characters in the game, and they're going to be running around the dungeon exploring, trying to ultimately uncover some sort of goal, and it's going to range depending on the quest that they're on. So as you go through the dungeon, you'll slowly unlock story tiles that will give you more of a story of what to do next, until eventually you uncover whatever the final result is, usually some sort of big bad boss or whatnot. Along the way, you're going to have two main actions you can take a turn as a character, and then you have additional free actions. So for example, we're going to take our character, the wizard woman over here, and we're going to start a movement action. She has 4 movements, so we're going to start a movement action. We're going to interrupt that movement action with an explore, putting out a new tile. You can orient that however you want, with some restrictions as to how they can orient. And then from there, you get to put out new enemies on the tile based on having those various bone symbols on the tile. You can see over here the 2 and the 3 crossbones. So, go ahead. I'll grab one of these. Yep.
And you can tell which monster comes out because of these cards. They have this in the corner. It's a little bone. 1 bone is a gremlin. 2 bones is a goblin. And 3 bones is an orc.
Yeah, and so you're going to match up to the various creatures you have in the game, and there might be variable creatures depending on the level, scenario, whatever it is you're playing. And then you're going to put out those new characters that you now want to ensure that you take care of them, you defeat them. So I'm going to continue my movement. I have 3 movement left out of my 4 movement. I'm going to go 2, 3, 4. And then from the rear, I'm going to go ahead and attack the goblin. Now, I'm going to roll 2 dice in this case, because every time you roll dice, you're going to roll dice equal to your character rolling dice, as well as the weapon that character possesses. You're going to combine the weapon and the character to determine what you roll. Do you want to go ahead and roll dice?
Okay.
Perfect. 2 hits. So, she got 2 hits, which means that
the goblin is killed.
Yeah, the goblin has 2 health. You can do partial damage. So if you do only 1 damage, you would take a token and you would put it next to the goblin as a note for the future. In this case, Ricky killed it. So we're going to take the goblin entirely off the board.
But if I completely missed and got 2 blanks, then I would flip my character to this other side. That gives you an extra die.
You effectively become determined. You get frustrated that you missed, and you work harder towards hitting the next time. And then once you do hit, you go back to your normal side. So it gives you a bit of a compensating factor to the idea that you might occasionally miss as you progress throughout the game. So that's going to be Wanda's turn, the wizard woman's turn. And then I just called her Wanda because she has a wand.
That's actually a really good name for your nickname for your character.
Wizard Woman Wanda. So, do you want to choose which character should we activate next? Well, actually, technically speaking, Wizard Woman has another turn, because every character has 2 actions. Now, the problem is your wand is a melee weapon, only attacks from adjacent. So, do you want to continue taking turns with Wizard Woman? Do you want to explore, move? What do you want to do?
I think I want to move closer.
To the orc? Okay. So
and then I can do another melee attack.
Well, that would be 2 actions. You can't
Okay, I'll do a melee attack. Actually, no, because you don't want to get prepared for a melee attack like that, because then after all the characters have taken their turns, then it's going to be monster turn.
Yeah, it's a good point. If you end up too close to the monsters, after we take our turns, then all the monsters on the board that are on the table will activate taking their turns, and they each have 2 actions as well. So, for instance, if we end our turn here, then what he'll be able to do is he'll be able to attack twice, as opposed to if we end our turn here, he'll move towards us with his first action and then attack us with his second action. So unless you're able to get in an aggressive and attack, you want to balance that with how the game's going to play out.
And the reason exploring is so important is because of this track. Every turn you don't explore, the spider moves down it. Once the spider's off the track, then you put one spider on the middle square of every single tile with a cobweb on it.
Yeah, that could be a lot of spiders. So if you don't keep the game state progressing, then you're going to add all these spiders to various spots, anything that has a web in it, which in this case we have 3 tiles with webs in them.
A lot.
So suddenly we generated 3 spiders. That's 3 different creatures we're going to have to attack and deal with as the game progresses. Each of them with 5 movement, 2 health, and 2 dice. So you want to be very mindful of keeping the game moving forward with the exploration. And the balance of the game is that as you continue exploring throughout the tiles, as you keep putting out new tiles, you're going to continuously be putting out new enemies to deal with and to attack, and the game's going to get harder and harder because dealing with 2 enemies in and of itself, not a big deal. Exploring multiple tiles and having 5, 6, 7 enemies on the board, that's when you start getting into a bit of a tough spot and want to manage just how many enemies are on the board. So, and then you might want to stop exploring, but that's where the spider mechanics comes into play. If you stop exploring, a whole bunch of spiders will start coming out on the board. So it really is a balance of keeping the game state there.
And we actually forgot to say how the game ends.
Yeah, how does the game end?
The game ends when you defeat the boss. In this case, the boss is Slithers McBiscuit. That's the giant snake.
Slithers McBiscuit.
He attacks you by giving you poison. And if you defeat him before 2 heroes die, then you win the game. But if you don't defeat him before 2 heroes die, then you lose the game and you have to try again.
Yeah, and Slithers McBiscuit is going to come in with 15 health, which is a lot of health, and roll only 3 dice a turn. So you really need to ensure that you take it out.
White dice.
It is only white dice. White dice are the weaker dice, but it'll also be dealing poison. So unless you have an antidote, which you may have uncovered as you were progressing through the dungeon, then you're going to be taking poison every single round. So it really does present a bit of a challenge to actually get to the end with enough health that you can successfully take out the big snake along the way without dying along the way. Now that's, I guess, an overview of how to play the game, Ricky. So, what do you like about the game?
I like how it's a fun dungeon crawler game, and I'm able to do a bunch of fun things that are in other games that I'm too young to play. And I also love the artwork.
The artwork is great. The artwork, we should talk about the artwork.
I know.
Go ahead, talk about the artwork.
The artwork in this game, as you can clearly see, is definitely reinforces the fact that it's a kid's game, because this is all child artwork. This is not something this is not the artwork you would see in an adult game.
It's really great that they had an adult draw artwork that was for kids.
Kids gave in their artwork for most of it, and then Garified it.
Yeah, so Gary's going to be the artist of the game who's been taking the artwork that's been submitted by, Cora, Dan, whoever. I don't actually know if Dan drew anything, but Cora has definitely drawn stuff. Other kids have drawn stuff. They've taken artwork from kids, and then they Garify it, which is to say they make it a little bit more comprehensible, a little more gamey, a little bit more of a consistent look to it by just coloring things in and adding highlights so it looks a bit more consistent. But almost everything you see here in this game has been effectively drawn by children and then adjusted to just put a more comprehensive feel on the game, which is great. And speaking of other things you can do in terms of monsters, there's also remember this?
Yeah.
A hero creator. You can create your own hero.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there's a little hero generator for the game where you can print out and design your own hero. They give you guidelines as to how to create them, what kind of ability they have. Speaking of which, we didn't talk about hero abilities. All the heroes have an ability that can be utilized. You use your ability for whatever it is. So, for instance, Wizard Woman.
Her ability is 1 hit damages 2 adjacent enemies equally. But as soon as you use your ability, you put it here, and then you'll have to wait 2 turns to use it again.
Yeah, that's a bit of a countdown timer. It's a countdown timer for things like the spiders entering the game, for your abilities, and potentially other things as the game progresses. So, anything else you like about the game?
I also like how it's easy to maneuver, and you don't have to literally walk an entire way around the table to get it.
Yeah, that's true. So,
and more thing about the artwork, the back of the exploration cards have this adorable little blue monster up here.
And that's gonna be true on the treasure cards as well, which we haven't talked about the treasure.
He's not an adorable monster, but he's kind of like a blue club monster.
Yeah, the treasure's gonna be, we haven't talked about it, but some of the things you'll unlock as the game progresses is you'll unlock treasure chests, where you can go to a treasure chest and draw a treasure token, at which point you remove the treasure item from it.
So you can. And here there's lots of traps.
Yeah, so there are traps in there. So there's basically good things. There's things that will heal potions, there's things that will give you abilities, new weapons, new whatever, but also traps and things that will happen to you. You should take a minute. So while you do that, you have find a trap there? Trap?
Yes.
Okay, we got a trap.
This is a treasure chest that has a face and teeth.
This is the trap. Roll red dice to avoid it. If you roll no successes, take 1 damage. You may draw another treasure card. So you still get another treasure card after, so you're not walking away feeling completely left out. What's your favorite trap?
My favorite trap is this evil coin pile.
Pile of coins. Pile of coins are always evil, so you can get rid of your pile of coins by backing this game on Kickstarter. Now, so in terms of things you like with the game, in terms of what I like with the game, I like with the game a few things. I do like the game. The game is very easy to teach. It's very easy to get my kids up and running. Again, I have a 5-year-old who was playing the game and understood how to play the game. Strategically, my 5 and 7-year-old did not necessarily understand the fact that you shouldn't always explore new tiles when there's hordes of monsters on the board. You have to kind of control the situation. But one of the things I like with the game is the game actually seems pretty decently balanced around suboptimal decision making in the game. Meaning, in the games I've played of the game so far, you can make suboptimal decisions and still win the game. Now, it's still going to feel like a fight. Like that first game we played, we came down to like the last wire. We had like one character with 1 health left, another character with 1 health left. Or you died, I think, right?
Yeah, I was the only one that died, and I was actually the last person to take any damage, and I was the first person that died.
Yeah, oh, that's right. You started off the game the most healthy, and then by the time you got to the end, you died. And then one other character had 1 health left.
And you nearly died.
So
you were going to die. You were going to die the next turn.
Basically, because I had poison on me, and I had 1 health left. Yeah, it was
poison takes away 1 health every single time until you get rid of it.
So it was a tense game in the sense that it came down to the wire, but at the same time, it's a tense game that was a tense game because of suboptimal decision making around the game. So it does have that in the game to a degree.
And it is absolutely hilarious what the poison thing looks like.
Yeah.
The poison tile is absolutely hilarious. It's like a face going. That's green on some parts.
I like the fact that the game it distills all the core mechanics of a dungeon crawler. It distills exploration, new tiles, new enemies, fighting enemies, rolling dice, drawing treasure stuff, having an overarching quest that you go on. It has all those aspects. It even has range, and the range is simplified enough that it's really not a problem to deal with the actual mechanics behind range, but it's a very simplified thing.
And thankfully, we do not have to count every single little square. At the little bow at the bottom, they give you the number, which is a lot, really helpful.
Oh, that's right, they do. Yeah, I think.
And the goblins have a lot.
Cool.
Lots of range. They have 8 range.
Is there anything you didn't like with the game?
I kind of wish that it was a bit easier for the tiles so they didn't go sprawling all the time.
So this is
I wish they kind of fitted together.
Well, this is the time to mention that this is a prototype. These are a bunch of cards, which I believe in the final game they're going to be tiles. So this is a prototype with. I mean, they won't be. I don't think they're going to be puzzle pieces, so they won't clip together. But they definitely will move less when they're actual tiles instead of cards. Anything else you don't like?
Not really.
Not really. For myself, the only thing I would say I don't like about the game, and it's a bit of a stretch given the target audience, is I don't like the fact that this is a game that is actually surprisingly whimsical and fun to play, but if I was playing with adults or whatnot, it would be hard because the game is too easy if you are making optimal decisions. Now again, a bunch of adults playing the game is not the target audience, but it actually was not a bad game, even for adults. I had a gameplay video with Quackalope, which I don't know when it's going up, but I'll link to it when I have a chance. Yeah, I have a gameplay. I played it just me and Jesse.
What's the gameplay?
It's a video of he and I playing the game. No one else. But and so yeah, it's a game that it was fun even then. Even playing with 2 adults, it was decently fun, but it was not the challenge that I potentially would like. But again, that's a stretch of a critique because the target audience is a bunch of children, and I think it accomplishes that incredibly well. As far as your final thoughts, any final thoughts?
Not really, but we forgot to mention there are also the story cards.
There are story cards. That's true. You want to talk about story cards? Go ahead.
In the story cards, that every time you uncover one, they go in order, so you don't have the wrong bits of the story at the wrong part of time. When you're going through them, it starts with finding. Oh, the characters are Kevin and Annabelle. Yeah,
we don't need to go through the full story because keep in mind, people might actually play this quest when they get the game, so we don't want to spoil things too much. Just talk about the general idea.
Well, the general idea is that you keep on uncovering story cards that either help you or do something bad to you.
Yeah. And then until you get to the end where you potentially uncover the thing that...
The last story card has Slithers McBiscuit.
Yep. And it might be there's going to be different quests throughout the game. And in this prototype we have, there's only one quest, but there's going to be multiple quests throughout the game, including, Ricky, a stretch goal of a quest that you and I are writing for the game.
Yes. The monster I have already...
We have to get official approval for our quest, so we can't release details. But But stuff. Okay, as far as my final thoughts of the game come down to the following. I think CoraQuest is an excellent game in terms of the target audience presenting. It is a whimsical, I use whimsical a lot. It is a light, fun dungeon crawling experience that is enjoyable for kids. My kids like it a lot. We'll ask you just much you like it in a second. And I had fun playing with it. This is one that when I rank kids games, what I usually do is I usually rank it on 3 counts. Was it fun for the kids? Was it fun for me playing with the kids? And would I play it with adults? This game was clearly fun for the kids. All 3 of my kids enjoyed it. We'll let you tell about how much in a second. For myself, I enjoyed playing with my kids. I would happily, when my kids ask me to play one of their games, it usually falls into one of 2 categories. I'd rather not play that one, or sure, let's play that one. This is the latter. This is definitely a sure, let's play that one. This is a lot of fun to play, and I would happily pull it out and continuously go through that dungeon experience with them. As far as playing with adults, I wouldn't, but primarily because of the difficulty levels. If there was some form of difficulty scaling for adults, which again, not the target audience, but if there's some form of extra difficulty that made it, whatever, I mean, this game, you can knock out a 20, 30-minute game of a little fun dungeon crawl with a little bit of a story. Definitely not going to compete with Gloomhaven, Massive Darkness, Zombicide, who knows, any other contest, whatever it is, but it still does manage to be fun. And speaking of which, speaking of how much kids like it, how much do you like it?
I absolutely love it, because now I'm able to do a bunch of fun attack things, and do a bunch of cool abilities, kind of like Zombicide, although that was very overwhelming and I had to leave in the middle of the game.
Yeah, now so what would you rank it out of 10?
A 9.
A 9. Why are you taking away a point? I'm curious. What's the reason?
It's just very it's very overwhelming, but not too overwhelming.
Okay, cool.
Which I'm only taking away 1 point. If it was very overwhelming, I would definitely take away more than 1.
So I think I would actually give it a 10 because not for me, myself, and I, but in terms of the target audience that it's addressing, I think this knocks it out of the park in how well it does. I would give this a 10 for the target audience of who it is. And by the way, ratings,
I've only played it once, so I don't want to rank it too high if I've only had one experience.
That's reasonable. And I will say, ratings is something. Ratings is something new that we're starting to add to our reviews, but we're starting to add those in, and I didn't even tell Ricky that a rating was coming, so you were surprised. Yes, but that's basically it. This is CoraQuest. I hope you enjoyed this review. Any final words you want to say?
I am a bit disappointed that they didn't make little Annabelle and Kevin figures for you to put on the board.
That's fair.
For every time you see them.
That's fair. You're right. It should be a 9. Yeah, no, basically Annabelle, Kevin, there's a bunch of stories you encounter there's a bunch of characters you encounter in the story that so far for ourselves have only been in the, sheet of papers or whatever that you're going through. They're not actually like figures you can engage with in any way, which is disappointing. I kind of want to meet them, right?
Yes, I want to see what they look like.
We'll see what we can do with them.
I'm actually going to submit a picture of them.
Excellent. And that's basically it. This will be our review of CoraQuest. There will be a link to the Kickstarter down below, assuming this video goes up after the Kickstarter is up. We'll see. And make sure to go ahead and back it, because like I said, if there's a stretch goal in there, if you get it high enough, where Ricky and I will be writing a quest as well. So that's basically it. This is our review of CoraQuest. I am Alex Radcliffe.
And I am Ricky.
And have a good one.